until age 17, 1969, and became an article clerk with a local company. And I remember starting for the princely sum of £35 per month salary. And then, of course, we were working in pounds, shillings and pence because it was 1969, no VAT, no calculators, everything was done with pen and paper. So, yeah, mathematics had to come into it then. And then 10 years later, in 1979, I started the practice, or we started the practice. Joan and I had just got together, and I'd done a couple of other things in between that period, and decided in 1979 that we would actually start the practice and have a go ourselves. And so the rest of that, after that, the rest is history, I suppose. Yes. Qualified accountants were not allowed to advertise. We could put a little notice in the local papers or journals of who we were and where we were, but we weren't allowed to advertise at that time. That came in later. So it was word of mouth. I was a local person. I knew a lot of people, so I was always confident that I could go out there and bring work in. I think I started with 6 clients. But it was then word of mouth, just getting around, seeing people, meeting people. The best source of new clients was always existing clients, recommendations, and building up a network of other professional people, bank managers and solicitors who used to send clients our way. Computers were pretty basic as well, of course, in those days. I remember our first computer was a Commodore PET 64. Not the most powerful of bits of kit, but it did a job. It helped the process of putting numbers together and cut out a lot of the sort of routine, basic work of the preparation of the numbers. So that was a big change, and that was a big help. And once computers came in, they developed quite quickly. Things moved on. You had to keep up with things as they changed and developed, and we tried to do that. And then the next big thing, of course, was the internet, when we could start communicating with people through the internet. Not just email, but obviously moving information over and all that sort of thing, and that just changed things enormously. Yeah, then the cloud has obviously made quite a difference because more and more people are now using software which works in the cloud, and it enables us to actually get into clients' systems from our own office or from our home here, and we can examine clients' figures and records, and we can actually make amendments if they allow us to. That's up to them. So yeah, that's made the working of the information a lot simpler. They haven't got to come in with information, or they haven't got to try and send it over by email. Yeah, that certainly made life easier.
Yeah, technology, because when we first set up, I had an old black sit up and bang the keys typewriter. And I can actually remember buying our first electric typewriter, how excited I was. And then of course we moved on to the computer system. But of course, in the old days, when we first set up, everything was typed, all the accounts were typed out. And so basically, yes, and dictaphones, because Trevor used to write his letters out and I used to have to try to read it and then type it. So pretty much the same, really, yes, technology. it worked very well actually.
Mm.
Trevor was the boss at work, I was the boss at home.
Mm.
No, it worked quite well. I didn't know how to do his job and he actually didn't know how to do my job. So, you know, during the day, he was in his office and I was in mine.
Yeah, it always worked quite well. You just
did.
have to try not to bring problems home
Yes.
with you. You try and leave them at the office.
But we did sometimes.
We honestly can't think of anything that we would do
No.
majorly differently. You know, everything's gone pretty much according to plan. We've enjoyed every minute of it. So there'd be no major changes or anything really that we would do differently over all those years. Well, what we've always tried to do, I think, is to remember that clients are real people who need help, they need reassurance, they want someone who hopefully they can rely upon, and we've tried always to do that, and because of that we've made friends with an awful lot of our clients. We treat them as friends. We try and get to know a lot about them, not just their business or their tax returns, but about them, their families, their interests, you know, and everything else. So you can spend time talking to them about that, and not just business.
Yeah, because I used to be on reception for quite a while. I also knew a lot of the clients, and if I wasn't out there on the reception, they'd come and find me for a chat because we'd built up a relationship. You know, it's all part of the business, really.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just a number; they're a person, and yes, some of them became very close friends, actually.
It'll be meeting with people, going out and seeing them, and talking to clients, because you know that was always good fun, and something I always enjoyed, and meeting with the staff, because you know, there's a good group of people that I was working with, so yeah, it will be strange, and that's what I should certainly miss.
Well, when you do retire, I found when I was lucky because I retired at Christmas, so I had Trevor here through the holiday and our two sons, so I had people around me. What you do miss, I found most, was somebody else there, you know, human contact. But you soon get used to it and you find other ways of doing things. But that's what I did miss most, was being in the office with other people.
Yeah, it's been good fun all the time really, and we've both thoroughly enjoyed it.
We've always had the same philosophy. So if you speak to Trevor, he will say that his philosophy has always been about treating clients as real people, and just helping them out. You know, arm around the shoulder, just being their friend, their confidant, etc. And when we started out, it was exactly the same thing. We started out because we felt that's what accountants didn't do, and we felt that's what clients actually wanted. So we started out with the same philosophy, and along the way, we've stuck to exactly the same philosophy. You know, as you get bigger, you find, you know, natural forces might sort of take you into a more commercial space, but we've always said that's what we're good at. We deal with small clients, and we look after them, we help them. So we've got the same philosophy. So we're adamant that we want to carry that on for forever, really. You know, going back to when I started, which was a little bit later, accountancy was still quite stuffy then. So it was kind of dominated by the bigger firms. The bigger firms had offices in all the small places like Rushton even, and what have you. And, you know, accountancy was all about audits, and accountants were very stuffy. And I would say the biggest change in the industry is that's all been blown apart. So the big firms tend to deal with big clients now, rather than the general clients that you'll find in Wellingborough and Rushton. and that's led to much more smaller firms in those areas. If you go back to when I started, and when Trevor started, it'd be more the case, but back in those days, every limited company needed an audit. So I can remember going out to clients, some fairly big local clients, with my boss, and literally one of us would be calling out the invoice details, the other checking it for every single invoice. And you imagine how time consuming and mundane that was. When I started, I think we introduced a computer. I think we probably started off without a computer, and then I think we had a gift of a computer from somebody, which is this huge big box thing. Trevor will have started without computers. He even said he didn't have adding machines. So we had adding machines when I started, but when Trevor started, he said he was adding things up in his head. When I was 17, I worked for an old-fashioned company, and if we had queries on the accounts, we would literally write a letter with those queries, post it out to the client. The client would then write a letter back, post it to us, and then we'd deal with it. So that was just a humongous process. So nowadays, we've had an email for the last 10 or 15 years, so that makes the whole process of dealing with things a lot quicker. Mobile phones as well, everybody's a lot more accessible. And then in recent years, the cloud technology's taken everything on another notch further forward, and the whole automation of client systems has really taken root. HMRC, much more electronic. So that's a huge change, and I think it's a good thing really that we've always kept up to date and tried to keep ahead of all the changes. Trevor would say his success is down to him getting to know clients, taking the time and trouble to talk to them about all sorts of their personal issues, their sporting hobbies, their family, their personal problems. So I would say the same thing. Over the years of my business, it's exactly that. You get to know people, and if you talk to people about all those things, it's amazing what comes up. People trust you, they tell you things, and then you find out, well, I can help you with that, and so on and so forth. So that I'm pretty sure Trevor would advocate that anybody coming into the business. I think the youngsters today are so used to electronic communications and what have you, and he would probably say, speak to people, get to know them, take the time and trouble, don't just rely on emails and social media. He's just a lovely guy. So his old presence is just calming, peaceful. He's in some ways he's a little bit old school. Looks a bit like an accountant should look like, but he just surprises you. He says things every now and again that are completely different to what you would think he would say, and he's just really funny. So he comes up with one-liners that just they crease you up sometimes. So I think as well, if you're in a bit of a flap about something, he's a guy that is so calm, and sometimes he just says, well, at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. Tomorrow's another day, and everything seems all right. So it's just his calmness, his unflappability, his general nice nature and sense of humour.